the best a man can get.
Back here, first things first, we are now joined by NBA champ Antoine Walker.
What up, Twan? Good to see you.
Hey, Twan.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good to have you back. We got a lot to discuss. Let's talk Celtics Bucks. Game 2 last night. Giannis in Milwaukee deciding to make no big strategic adjustments after their Game 1 loss. Boss move paid off. Greek Freak returned to his MVP.
Someone gave her that.
No,
Boss move?
that was 100% mine.
I believe you, Jenna.
Greek Freak returned to his MVP form, pouring in a game-high 29 points, 10 rebounds. Bucks go off for a franchise playoff record 23 pointers in this game. Milwaukee wins at 123-102 to even the series at 1. Here's Giannis after the game.
We lost game 1. The points don't matter, but at the end of the day, you got to come out and win game 2. You get back on track, and that's what we did tonight. That's how we've been responding all season long. That's what's great about this team, and we got to talk about the fans too. I think the fans did a great job, just supporting us, giving us that extra motivation, and the atmosphere was great. But at the end of the day, we got to still stay humble. We know we got game 3 on the road now. We know every game is going to get tougher and tougher and tougher, and we got to keep playing good basketball and trust one another, and hopefully we can get game 3.
All right, Antoine, let's start with you. What do you think the key was for the Bucks here in Game 2? We talked so much about what adjustments this team was going to make. Giannis said we weren't going to make any. It was a great game for them.
The adjustment, they make shots. I mean, you make 23s, obviously you're going to win most of those ball games. I think obviously with Milwaukee, what we're learning for teams, the people that don't get to see them a lot, is that they have two styles. One, Giannis is an open court player. He's a guy that gets downhill. He needs to play that way to be effective. We learned that they have one of the worst half-court offenses in basketball. They're not very good offensively in the half-court set. So that makes them easy to guard in the half-court set because Giannis does not post up. They don't really have a post-up threat inside. And then we got to figure out who's going to be that third scorer. Eric Bledsoe, I thought, was great. I thought he was aggressive. They're going to need him to continue to do that. We'll see if his game travels on the road. This is a different animal. This is not Terry Rozier. This is Kyrie Irving he's going against, and he actually obviously responded yesterday. But as long as Giannis can get in the open court, make plays in the open court, they're going to have a legitimate chance to win this series. But if they're not able to get out in transition and they don't have to make 20 threes, but they're going to have to probably make 12 to 15 threes to have a legitimate chance to win this series.
So I disagree wholeheartedly with the second point you made, which is one I heard all day yesterday and the day before, which was, Milwaukee's half-court offense, it doesn't exist. It does. Their half-court offense is Giannis drive, draw a double team, and kick it to a three-point shooter. They average 15 made threes a game. The only team in the league that takes and makes more threes is the Houston Rockets. They have a style with which they play that has led to the third best offense in all of basketball this year. And on the flip side of it, their defense has suffocated teams all year long. Game 2 was far more indicative of who this Bucks team has been through 88 games this year than Game 1 was. And much like we have talked about over the last 5 years, the Warriors can just all of a sudden hit you with that waterfall of points where after a 4-minute stretch, it's a good game and then they're up by 17. The Bucks have been doing that exact thing to people all year, and it's what they did last night. This was a 3-point game with 7 minutes left in the third quarter, and then the Bucks rip off a 31-4 run. That's offense as far as hitting shots, but that's also defense holding Boston to 4 points over 12 minutes of basketball. That is who they've been, and I think that is who they can continue to be.
I think the national audience is going to get far more familiar with Milwaukee and who they are. To defend the comments as far as their offense, if you ask what is the problem when they struggle, it's when they can't get out in pace, when they don't hit the number of threes, and they set up in the half-court offense. That don't mean you can't be a great offense, so I respect what you're saying. I understand that. When do they struggle? Like game number 1, when their threes aren't going in, and they have to try to set up and be able to beat you by scheme. And the reason why is they only got 2 guys basically can beat you off the dribble. That's Bledsoe. How consistent can he be after having the best season he had during the regular season? And Giannis. But the way they had the paint pack, Giannis couldn't beat them off. So they weren't making these shots. So if you're going to slow them down, you got to take Giannis out of transition, and you have to try to get the game where the game's going to be a 95 to 105 game because their offense is not best when you make them slow down and you don't give Giannis that running start. Blake Griffin in the first series, he was sitting back in the restricted area. Giannis was take 3 or 4 dribbles and get right in his face, Euro step around him and give him problems. They're getting him out on the court with more pressure. Milwaukee has a chance to be a special team. Can they do it on the road? And can they do it for a 2-month period of time? Draymond Green, you talked about, there are guys that can play regular season 82 games, and there are guys that can play 16 games. How many people do they have on Milwaukee? Because what they're facing right now is new.
Well, you got to understand, too, Nick, this is their first time. Even though they won 60 games, they were very impressive. But I also saw Atlanta Hawk team that was coached by Bud win 60 games, and LeBron James them sweep them in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm not saying that it's about matchups. Boston's a bad matchup for the Milwaukee Bucks. They expose some of their weaknesses because you have a guy in Kyrie Irving who I know didn't play particularly well yesterday, but he can close the game out. Jason Tatum has yet to put his imprint on this series. If he ever gets going in this series, it becomes totally different. But this is their first go-around. This is their first time in this. This is a Boston Celtics team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. They've been in these trenches before. They played them last year. It's a confidence thing, too, going into the series that the Celtics are not scared of them. They did what they're supposed to do. They went on the road, got one. Now you get in the position at home court. Now it's time for the Celtics to take care of business. But this is going to be a very difficult series for the Milwaukee Bucks to get out of.
You know what? I wish the games were reversed. I wish Milwaukee would have blown out the Celtics in that third quarter burst and finished them off in the fourth. And the Celtics had won game 2 because our perspective would be a lot different. The Celtics already did what they had to do in game number 1. We act as if, man, they lost both the games. Kyrie Irving stunk up the joint. No, man, they got what they came to Milwaukee for. This is going to be a good series and because I think it's right. And what you're doing, I'm not going to give people credit that them 60 games transition to championship basketball. I'm going to wait to see it. And I know you have question marks as far as Bledsoe. Can he be...
Go ahead. Let you finish.
Can he be consistent?
But if we're not going to just assign credit to Milwaukee for things they haven't done, why are we assigning it to Boston? That's my question that I've asked all year long. This Boston team...
Well, we're in the playoffs. We're in round 2. And it's 1-1.
Yeah, I get that, but the idea that we haven't seen this Milwaukee team do it. We haven't seen this Celtic team do anything. This Milwaukee team, as personally constituted, right? They both won their first round series easily, but they both swept. They're 1-1 in this series. So what evidence do we have for these two teams?
Boston with their young players went to the finals last year.
They went to the conference finals last year. Yes, they did. And now
that's a hell of a lot of experience.
Okay, and I am told every day that we talk about the Celtics, this is a totally different team. Now they've got Gordon Hayward. He's getting better and better. They have Kyrie.
But Gordon Hayward has been in the playoffs before, Nick. Kyrie Irving has been in the playoffs at the highest level and hit the biggest shot that you can hit in a playoff. So we're just going to throw that off like, oh, no, that don't exist.
No, I'm not throwing it off. What I am saying is that we can't act like this Celtics team we know that they are playoff tested, and we know the Bucks are not. This Celtics team is not. This Celtics team...
Well, let's just do this. Forget the roster. Kyrie Irving is tested.
Yes.
All right? Al Horford is tested.
Yes, Al Horford was on that team that we're using.
Okay, so your turn. Milwaukee, who you got?
What? Eric Bledsoe's played in the playoffs. Giannis last year.
Give me what Bledsoe's done in the playoffs.
No, of course. No, none of them have hit the biggest shot in NBA history like Kyrie.
So what we are talking about with Boston must be relevant.
Right, but we're using the 60-win Celtics, right, as an example of why the Bucks can't do it, even though they got to the conference finals and lost to LeBron. But now
no, that's the Hawks. You said the Hawks.
I'm sorry, we're using the 60-win Hawks as an example as to why the Bucks can't do it, because they were coached by Bud.
We didn't say they can't do it. We said I'm not going to give them credit until they do it.
Sometimes bad matchups, man. This is not necessarily a great matchup for the Milwaukee Bucks.
We can't give Houston credit for they haven't gotten through Golden State. No one's giving them credit.
Right, and teams never do it until they do it. Last year was the first year for Milwaukee with this group in the postseason. They lose in 7 to the Boston Celtics last year in a hard-fought series. The idea that we are just now going to say, okay, let's switch the games around, but the games weren't switched around. What happened last night was a game that a lot of people thought Boston would win or would be very close.
Right.
They got the break speed off.
You know what we did, Nick? We said it's going to be a good series. If that's criminal...
No, it's not criminal, but to act like last night was expected when you on this show yesterday said,
I said the best bet. I said the best bet was take Boston on the money line.
Yes.
You got house money. You already won game number 1.
Okay. All right, listen, but we do this with teams that people haven't seen it from yet. when they do something that we hadn't seen from them before, which was blow the doors off.
It's a strategy of mine I'm going to keep using with players and teams. All right? If they haven't done it yet, a coach taught me something. He said, Chris, once I see you do it, I know you got it, and it's up to me to bring it out in you consistently. Until you've done it, I don't know what you can
Well,
do.
then I don't know how we talk about any team but Golden State. Because we've never seen Kyrie do it, not next to LeBron.
Because we have a job
We've never
to do.
seen. Okay. Right. Or we could just evaluate what we've seen from this season and see how it affects what we're going to see the rest of this season.
Would you stick around? Because that was so good. How could you possibly leave at the height of all of that? Coming up is the Rockets' playoff run all but over. That's next on First Things First.
I know how Mr. Tickles responds because he's done it before. He's not new to this. He's true to this. Come here.